I, 26 female, am uncomfortable with my boyfriend, 27 male's co-worker. My boyfriend of 8 years has a colleague that makes inappropriate comments to him and recently started referring to him as her husband or work husband to other people. The thing is, my boyfriend swears up and down that he doesn't interact with her at work because they have different jobs. He barely even makes small talk with her and that he finds her really annoying. In fact, I found out about her because he started complaining about a new girl at work who was really annoying. I immediately clocked that she was flirting with him and he acted like I was being crazy, but then another of his coworkers pointed out that she was flirting with him too. I'm upset because he just lets it happen and quietly goes along with it. I think this is a boundary issue and asked him if he told her to stop calling him her husband. He just said, "Oh, I don't want to make it awkward," because she does it in front of everyone at work. She also makes weird comments about other male coworkers. I think he secretly likes the attention and flirting, and he also sucks at communication and doesn't want to confront her about her weird behavior. I'm not worried he'll cheat on me necessarily. I just think it's a respect for the relationship thing that if someone is making weird advances towards you in a work environment, you make it clear it's inappropriate and should stop. I feel like I'm particularly triggered because a few years ago at another job, he had another coworker whom there were boundary issues with that caused a lot of issues in our relationship as well. And again, he felt like he didn't want to make things awkward because they were a part of a big friend group and she had a lot of good networking contacts. I know he didn't cheat on me, but he was admittedly flying way too close to the sun with a coworker. Am I being unreasonable?
Yeah, straight away, no. I think, again, putting us in that scenario, you would, and I would likewise, but me being the guy, you would really, really, really struggle with that.
Oh, yeah.
You would really struggle with that straight off the bat. And I think this is really important because the majority of the stuff that we've recognized in our relationship is triggers are a driving thing or is the driving struggle for what we're going through, right? So if we've got an issue in our relationship, it is 90% of the time due to a trigger or so, like even, and this is something that I've really struggled with, is that external experiences are impacting our relationship. So it's got nothing to do with me impacting our relationships. Yeah. And that's been a big thing for me to learn, is that is still very valid for you. Yeah. You know, it is still your experience. It's not my experience, but it is yours. So when there are triggers, we need to address that. And again, looking at the triggers. Straight off the bat, she's saying this has happened before. Yeah. That's going to be a trigger. That 100% would be a trigger for you and for me. You know what I mean? If this has been a big issue in our relationship and it's happening again. So I think that is not fair on his part to not be taking this more seriously. I know 100% you'd be expecting me to take it more seriously, to be like, all right, this has been an issue for us before. I need to see that you're doing something. I need to have confidence that you're doing something about this rather than just letting it happen. Yeah. She did say he does struggle with communication. Like I get that. And that's something, you know, we also need to take into consideration. So if I was him, what I would want from you, and you do this really well, is help me with those words, help me with that conversation. So it's not, Amy, go and do this. You need to sort it out. You need to go fix that issue. It's, all right, how can I help you? Okay, I know you struggle with this, so how can we do this together? Yeah. He's not doing anything. It sounds like he's not really doing anything wrong in terms of he's not flirting back. He's not, you know, she's not nervous he's going to have a cheat on her or anything. But it's you know, it's teamwork, right? And so it's do it together.
And she says it's about the respect of the relationship thing.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that.
I so get that.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this a lot. There are things that are inappropriate, and then there's like lines before that you build, which are boundaries, so that you don't get to that thing. So there's like, especially because you worked in a church for years, and so the appearance of even anything being out of whack was really important. So even to that level of like nothing was happening, but even area,
if it looks like it could
even if it
be
looks
happening,
like there's any potential for it, it kind of needs to be way back there. That needs to be the boundary. And so we would have conversations like this where I'd be like, it just doesn't look good in this way. Even if people could look at it and be like, what's that going on? And like, you know, so I think even if there's nothing weird and he's not doing anything inappropriate, and even if there's nothing weird on her part, because we'll never know that, but like there's still a weird appearance. It just actually really bothers me when people do the whole work husband, work wife thing. I find that so bizarre. it just feels uncomfortable. And I get it. I would rather just say work bestie. Why can't you just say work bestie?
Yeah. Because I know your mum said this, and it was the first time that I felt the same, was hearing her say it. But again, mine is like a lot smaller of a scale of an issue. Is your mum would always talk about how she didn't want you kids to call other people auntie and uncle that are not family.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, he's my friend, call my friend uncle or auntie. It's no, your auntie and uncle are your auntie and uncle, and it's out of respect of their relationship with you. It's not diminishing their role, and it's really highlighting.
It's honoring their significance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's at a minor scale. You are my wife, and there is no similarity with anyone else. You know, you are my wife, and so for me, that's really important. It's funny because we've been getting feedback, which is awesome, and it's funny getting feedback as well where people are like, I don't know if I agree or if that would be an issue for me. That's completely fine, and I love those conversations still. So, for people that have had this conversation with me, please keep them coming. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. In fact, we'd welcome that because it's just the two of us at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So again, like, I know for us, like, this is the name stuff, the role, the title, everything is quite significant because it's honoring to that person, but it's also highlighting that person. It's also highlighting that relationship. So auntie and uncle are my kids' auntie and uncles. Like there's no friends that will be uncle or auntie to my kids, because I feel like that's diminishing my brother's role and your your siblings' role. You're my wife. No one's going to come close to that title. That is yours. That's an honor. It's you. I'm your husband. I'm no one else's husband. I'm no one else's pretend husband, whatever else. That's my role, and I'm going to hold that as an honor to have that role, right? To have that title. So that's at another level too. Is, and that's really
personal kind of
exactly.
But I think the heart behind it's the same anyway, like the honoring of your partner. And if she's not feeling honored through this, then that's the point. And there may be, like you said, especially because it's happened before, there might be other triggers going into why she's feeling like this is a disrespectful thing. But really, bottom line, she's not feeling respected in this, so that's not okay. And we've said this before, but
we've said this before, but
and we'll say it again. What was I going to say? Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, totally gone from my head. God was like, nope. Anyway, if you're not willing to have the conversation, like, yes, it might be uncomfortable to be like, don't call me your work husband. That's going to feel weird. But what are you losing? Like, other than he doesn't even like the girl. If this is true and he actually finds her annoying, really, what are you losing? Like, there's nothing, it's not even a best friend of yours or anything. Like, the first scenario makes more sense of the tension of losing it because they were all in a good friendship group and she was good for networking. But this one, especially, you don't like her. She's calling you work husband. Just say to her, please don't call me work husband. Make it a little awkward, and then maybe she'll stop talking to you.
Yeah. The funny thing is when I think about that, I'm like, if I was in that scenario, I wouldn't be asking you, how do I say this to her? It'd be, how do I say this to her without making her cry? Yeah. I know I'll just be too blunt. Like,
yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, Blair's so much better. I would need your help to say things this way because I'd need to be blunter than I am. But we equal each other out well in that way.
Babes.
But yes, I think, what are you losing? What are you losing by putting a boundary in place? You're honoring your wife. You're respecting your wife. You don't like the person, but aside from that anyway, even if you did, what are you losing? You're just reinforcing whole boundaries. This is a thing we've talked about a lot. And just to get a little more personal, like, there have been times where there have been people that I'm like, I'm just feeling a little weird about this person. And for the most part, actually all of the times, it's because I'm actually feeling a little bit weird about the other person, the female in the situation. I'll be like, I just feel a bit strange about where they are. So there's times where it's been that this is a bit of a vulnerable person and I know that they're not in a great place and they're in a situation where Blair is impactful in their lives, whether it's work or whatever. And he's such a great guy that in a vulnerable place, when someone is filling a role that is encouraging and uplifting, especially if it's really in contrast to the rest of your life, it's very easy to, whether it's like a romantic thing or not, but just to have an intimate connection with them or to have an intimate dependency on that. And so for me, when I've seen that kind of situation, it's not that I think you're doing anything wrong, although at first I can, like we've said in just this last episode, but it can look like I'm thinking, what are you doing? I'm kind of coming at you, attacking you for that. The reality is, once we've worked through it, it's not things you've done that's made me feel bad. It's actually more on the other side. And it's more of like a highlighting, I don't know where this person's at. Just be cautious of them and also maybe get like firm on those boundaries. And so in this situation, if this work lady knows that this man is married, she's openly flirting with him because not only has he felt weird, the wife's felt weird, but also co-workers have felt weird. Whatever situation she's in, the fact that he's married is not becoming a blockage for that. So she, in my opinion, is not a trustworthy person. She's not someone to trust to uphold the best standards. And so when a couple's navigating that together, it's not just her saying, you shouldn't do this. It's actually her saying, she's not a safe person. So I'm just going to point this out. And so reinforcing those boundaries around people like that, that's the only control you have in the situation. You can't change how they feel, but you can control how you act and your attitude. And so it's important to recognize that we're not just working with normal, healthy people all the time. Sometimes we're working with people that are coming from really broken or vulnerable or toxic backgrounds that won't respect you and your partner the same way that you guys would. And so you as a couple need to navigate that in a way that's going to be healthy.
It's what I want to state too, like the last time we had this conversation where you were concerned about a person, like a female, and my interactions with her, it wasn't necessarily that they were a bad person, bad situation. We didn't know that about them.
Yeah.
That was the issue. We don't know where
like,
they're at.
I don't know who they are.
Yeah. But, there's some things that they said that just made it sound super sus and weird, and which made me feel weird. But it just like escalated everything so much more because it was just a few dumb things. You're like, well, we don't know where she's at. We don't know where she's coming from. She said two really weird things, and that just brings alarm bells. Like, you just don't need to go there. And again, like you said, what are you going to lose? I just don't talk to her. I haven't lost anything because I don't really know her. Like it's no issue there.
Yeah.
Again, we've spoken about no compromise. There's no room for. It's not even just a matter of because I'm a very confident guy in that I would not have an affair, right? I'm very confident in that, but we will allow no room for that to even be a possibility. And it's like 50% of marriages end in divorce and all this sort of stuff. So I really believe that, you need to be serious and intentional and drastic with these things, because it's like, all right, if 50% of marriages in the world end in divorce, how am I going to be different than that 50%?
Yeah, and I can guarantee those 50% didn't think they were going to end in divorce.
Yeah, exactly. When they got married,
that wasn't what they went into it. And the thing is, like, if you were to say, I'm very confident I'll never have an affair. I'm not that guy. I'm never going to have an affair. And that was it. And you're like, and if I brought stuff up, you're like, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to have an affair. And that was what you were using as your reinforcement against that. That is weak to me.
Yeah.
That is putting trust in something that is not solid, because you might never have, you will never have an affair, but the person we're talking about may never even be tempted to walk down that line. And that's great. Maybe they really just truly are super, super solid in that, but not putting boundaries in place, not getting super clear, really detailed on that, really open with your partner on that is allowing spaces for it to like slowly develop. And the issue is that I don't know the statistics, but I'm guessing that a majority of affairs are not things that happen because one day someone saw someone so attractive they're just like, let's do it. It's because they have been in vicinity of each other. They have built relationship that is neutral at first, but then it becomes more and more intimate, or it becomes more dependent, or there's something that's like, there's like small like blurring of lines, and it's like a slippery slope that you don't even realize is happening, and then which you're still totally responsible for, but a slow burn rather than something that's just like obvious in your face. Exactly.
The other point too is it's not getting complacent in your marriage, and it's really continually investing in it, continually being intentional with it. Like the boundaries might sound quite drastic, and like we said before, I know some people disagree with us on this, and that's completely fine. But for us, I think we come from the perspective of, well, we just want to be intentional with our marriage. We want to be intentional with our barriers. So that is good, because the barriers that we have in place dictate what our intentions are to build up our marriage. You know what I mean? It's not because we're now these nervous Nellies that, oh no, there's an affair, block it, cut off, whatever. It's like, no. This is something that's really important to us. I never want to become across like I'm going to be flirting with people. I don't want to come across that someone might misinterpret what I mean. I don't want any room for randomness like that to come into our marriage. So we're going to put in these barriers that are going to be for the extreme cases because it's a value for us. So that barrier is dictating everything else because no room for anything else.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you learn to drive, you learn one of the things that they teach you is a huge part of your safety on the road. Probably the major part is actually watching the cars around you, not your own driving ability. For the most part, that's pretty solid. For the most part, the actual driver knows who they are. They can rely on that. If you were just be like, I'm a good driver, and you're not looking at the cars around you, you're not paying attention to who's coming around the corner, or if someone's like put their indicator on or whatever, that's when you make mistakes. And that's when things happen. And to just go around life being like, I'm a good driver, and everyone else is going to be a good driver, and just assume that everyone you interact with is going to be on the right path, in a good place, healthy, focusing, not distracted. That is a silly way of driving, and it's a silly way of living, because everyone you interact with is not going to be on the same plane. They're not going to have the same morals. They're not going to have the same values. They shouldn't anyway, but also they just won't. Like, we're all so different. And so I think, instead of being like, I will never do this, it's not that weird, whatever. You have to be aware of what's going on around you. You have to be aware of who you're around, what you're interacting with, who you're interacting with, and adjust accordingly as well. So you have your boundaries, like Blair said. We don't say it's never going to happen. So our boundary is so close to where we are that we don't even realize something's happening. We set our boundaries to where we're like, this is no compromise, and then also adjust those boundaries as you're interacting with the people around you. Because this boundary that might seem like really intense for some people might need to become even more intense with certain people, and the people we've spoken about. I normally wouldn't be like, maybe just, avoid one-on-one conversations or anything. For the most part, I would never say that to you. When there's people that are real big, like red flags in my head, I think that's the next step you take. Like, maybe don't have one-on-one conversations with them, or maybe don't, like, I don't know, whatever it might be. Stuff that wouldn't be normal interactions, you might need to take it a bit more extreme for that person, not because your whole boundary's out there, but because in this situation it is. And I think that's why communication is extremely important, and regularly checking in and being open with each other to discuss what's going on, what you're aware of, without also, if I was to, and I have been in times where I'm overly like frantic around it, that's a whole conversation too.
Yeah.
It's not just, Amy's at every whim that Amy has, Blair has to just like decide he's not going to talk to women or something like that. Like,
it's got to be that kind. Because that's the thing is, and again, this is something that we've spoken about, is I need to be on the same page. I need to understand what you're talking about so I can own it. Because otherwise I'm just doing stuff because you tell me to do stuff, and I don't.
You don't do stuff that I tell you to do.
What?
And you don't do stuff that I just tell you.
I actually do the opposite.
Yeah.
So you tell me not to have an affair, I'm going to have an affair.
I'm going to have it hard.
But like, it's, again, if you just say something to me, it would be like, all right, well, Amy said this, not it's actually a value of mine now.
Yeah.
So in this story, we hear she was saying that he thinks that she's crazy for thinking this way, right? That's not good. You know what I mean? Like, so this is the point, is that when you've got a concern, I need to be careful that I don't make you feel crazy. Yeah. You're not crazy. You've got a concern. You've got an issue, and it might be insecurity or triggers. Exactly right. It might not be a healthy mental thing. Exactly right. But again, as your husband, it's part of my job is to work on that with you. Just like with her, we said, get beside him and work. All right, how can you have this conversation with this chick to stop, calling you that, whatever. How can I work with you on helping you work through this insecurity or this trigger or whatever else it is? making you feel crazy is not going to be a solution, then as well, it's not going to be safe for you. If I call you crazy and if I start treating you like you're crazy, I'm not going to be safe for you. And that's really, really important. And I need to be that we need to be that for each other so we can have these conversations. If we don't feel safe, we're going to be completely triggered. And we're not going to feel comfortable actually coming with these things. You know what I mean? We're not going to feel comfortable to have these conversations because these are very hard conversations. We still have them. They're very hard conversations. It needs to be safety in that.
Absolutely. Acting like she's crazy is not going to be a constructive way of navigating it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we nailed it.
There's another one on Honey, we need to communicare.
Honey, we need to communicate.
Bunny, come say goodbye. Bunny. Bunny's in here. I didn't say that earlier.
Bunny is here.
Bunny.
Is she alive?
Bunny's dead. Bunny's not coming.
She is breathing. Bun. Bunny. Hey. Bun.
Oh, Bunny.
Wow, she was deep asleep.
Oh, come say goodbye. Oh, come on. Out. Yes.
Hey, Bun. Hey, Bun.
Bunny, speak into the microphone.
She's so sleepy.
I just woke her up.
Falling asleep again.
Bob. Say goodbye.
Good job, you podcasting dog. You.
Good girl. Cool. Thanks for chatting.
See you.